Come with me as I walk you along creating this art folio flip. To start off, you are going to need 10 pages in total of different assortment of pages, 8.5 by 11. After you found the pages of your liking, 10 in total, 8.5 by 11, you are going to fold them over lengthwise and then again in half. So you'll have 4 different sides after it's folded. After you've folded all your pages, you're going to stack them in the order of your liking. There'll be 10 in total. After you've folded everything and you have your stack the way you want it, you are going to make sure that the folded end is to the left and the open end is to the right. This is very important that each page folded edge is to the left and the open is to the right on all pages. Set your stack of pages to the side, and you're going to grab your mixed media cans and paper is what I used, and your 3D embossing folder of your choice. I used the 3D embossing folder by Tim Holtz. It is the type ABC. Grab your mixed media paper and one of the quarter folded pages from your stack. You're going to use this to measure out 2 pieces. These will be your front and back. After you've measured out your 2 pieces, grab your cutting tool, or I use a metal ruler to cut out the 2 pieces I need for my front and back cover. Here I'm making sure that everything fits. Go ahead and grab your embossing folder, emboss 2 pieces. After you've cut out your 2 pieces, grab your hardboard or your book board, whichever you would like to use for your front and back cover. As you see here, I'm using the embossed mixed media paper to measure out on my hardboard, as I am going to attach this mixed media paper onto the hardboard or book board. After you have everything measured out, you're going to grab an X-Acto knife or a heavy-duty X-Acto knife to cut out the 2 pieces that you are going to need for the front and back cover. After you have the 4 covers cut out, the mixed media and the hardboard or book board, you are then going to glue with whatever adhesive you would like. You are going to glue the mixed media paper to the hardboard. Set everything else aside. After you have everything glued down, you're going to grab some products. Mod Podge, some Modern Masters copper paint, liver of sulfur, and some patina by Modern Masters as well. Next, grab your Mod Podge and a paintbrush, and you'll be painting the fronts of the cover. After everything is sealed and dry, you'll go ahead and grab your copper paint by Modern Masters and a paintbrush. Because we use the Mod Podge, it will create somewhat of a slick surface, so you may have to do 2 to 3 coats, which was fine with me because I liked using the Mod Podge to give it that slick surface to replicate more of a metal look. You can opt out for this if you choose. Allow drying time between each coat. You may use a heat gun to dry for second or third coat. After everything is thoroughly dry, go ahead and grab your liver of sulfur, some water, and a paintbrush. Next, you'll see I add just a tiny bit of liver of sulfur as this is highly concentrated. Put a dollop on a silicone mat and add water to it to dilute. Your paintbrush with this liver of sulfur, and then I will use both directions, applying it to the covers of the book. You can use a heat gun to dry in between coats. As you can see, I use my paintbrush to shift the first painted cover over to paint the second cover with liver of sulfur. After everything is done and you like what you see and you still have some wet spots, you can go ahead and use a paper towel to blot those dry. Here I'm just putting everything together, the front and back cover on the stack of pages, just to make sure everything fits and looks good. After everything's good to go, you'll go ahead and grab your patina by Modern Masters and a paintbrush, as well as a paper towel. I use the blue patina. I also use a silicone mat and added the patina to the mat. Patina is a chemical, so please use gloves and ventilation. You'll want to splatter the chemical on as it looks better and more organic than painting it on. I do not want my cover completely full of patina, so I choose to use the splatter method. This method will create puddles, Leave those puddles to dry naturally. It will take quite a while for those to dry, but do not force dry with a heat gun. Patina has to dry on its own. Next, you'll grab all of your pages, a needle, thread of your choice, and awl. Next, I will begin to show you how to create the beginning of your binded pages. You'll open it up, fold it to the left, open to the right. You'll find the center bottom point, and this is where you'll add your holes. Before you do that, you're going to have to cut out the length of the folded edge. Open it up flat, and you'll see where the guide is going to go. This is where you're going to place your holes. I am only going to use 3 holes for this kettle stitch. The way I get my holes is I'll fold it in half and then fold it in half again to get the center point. And then I'll take a ruler and measure about 1/4 inch from the top and then 1/4 inch at the bottom. After I mark all my holes, I will take my awl, pierce through the punch holes, and then we will begin to pierce through the pages. Find the bottom, as I showed you there. These are where you're going to place your holes. Now, I did not add tape to the spine of these until I thought of it after I punched holes. So if you want to do this before you punch your holes, you can add tape to the bottom, only where your holes are going to be punched. This is optional. I just felt that it would create a better stitch and hold to the spine. But here you'll see me punch through all the holes, and then I will continue to add tape to everything and repunch the holes. This just, again, adds sturdiness to the spine of the book. After I've punched all the holes, I will grab my tape. This is a roll of old tape, and how I stain my tape is I just stain it on the roll as I go. Some people will pull a piece of tape, cut it, stain it, and add it to parchment paper or something to keep it sticky on the back to store. I just go ahead and use my archival ink and stain it on the roll and then cut. I found this just an easier way to antique or give it that vintage look for tape. But here you will see me add tape to all the pages and then repunch my holes. Here I'm just making sure all my lines or holes line up properly before I start the kettle stitch. I will link the video to the kettle stitch video that I followed. I'm not great at it as I'm still just learning. I usually use the 3-hole pamphlet stitch, but on this one you're going to need a better stitch. So I'll measure out, and usually a lot of times the length by how many pages. So I kind of just roughly do this. I actually use more thread than needed. Here you'll see me prepare my thread with 3 to 4 knots. I usually go about 3 or 4 times to create a good knot to start of the stitch. Again, follow the kettle stitch. Later on in this video, you will see me prepare the first page. I will show you how I start the first page, and then you will see it completed after it's done. Here, I'm just making sure everything is in the right direction and everything lines up correctly. Next, you're going to see me start my first stitch and how I open the page correctly before you begin. Grab your first page from your stack and watch carefully how I begin the first row of stitches. Again, you'll refer to the video that I provide for you to begin the kettle stitch and how to complete it. I just wanted to add this part so you can see how and where I'm adding my stitches. This is the most complicated part of putting the journal together, so I just added this so you can follow along and pause to understand exactly where the stitches are going on the bottom of the page. Here you have the completed art journal with all your bound pages together. Here I'm just flipping it open to show you how it lays open flat, and then I'll show you how it opens completely. With this binding technique, you'll be able to open your pages completely and fold back down to a smaller art journal. I think this is such a fun way to create many types of art in these pages with so much space to create. Here I'm showing you where the stitches are at the bottom, and then I'm going to add the front and back cover. I will use fabric tack to attach the front and back cover. I use a generous amount of glue just so I can make sure I get a good adhesion to the pages, as these are going to be flipped open and closed a lot. This style will have the open side of the spine. Later on in the video, you'll see that I actually made a book cover to encase this, so you have to stay tuned for that. But this is basically the project with the pages and the top and bottom covers glued onto the top and back page of the art journal. This is the last step, but in the reveal video, I will show you exactly how it came out, which I think is really cool. But this is basically it right here, and I think it's such a cool journal. You have so much space to do so many doodles, journaling, pictures, however you'd like to create your art flip folio. Here I'm just testing all the pages, making sure everything is glued down and everything opens flat. I think it looks great. Okay, we're back, and here's the final rendition of my little art folio flip that I designed. This turned out really cool. As you saw the other videos, I walked you through the process and how I created this. I told you I really wanted to create this. I was really inspired to do it and figure it out, and I finally did, and I came up with my own style of doing this kind of binding. You saw in this last video that I showed you is how I made this and put this. Actually, I had this in the back on top of here and on the back. But when I was putting this together, I really wanted a book, and there is no reason why this wouldn't just be amazing just like this. But when I finished, I actually finished it pretty quickly. So these are actually really quick to do. I wanted to go a step further. So I was like, I wonder if I could create a cover for it, like, you know, a journal cover. And this is what I came up with. All I did. So I didn't show you how I made this. This is really self-explanatory. Just take 2 pieces of hardboard or whatever board you use for your front and back cover, and then a middle spine. Then I took book tape and I just bound those together or taped them together. Leave a little, like 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch on each side. Tape it together, and then I took these off the front and the back after I glued it all up. I was able to get it off with I can't remember the product name. Let me see if I can see it here really quick. If you do not have this in your arsenal, I would recommend it because I used a lot of fabric tack, as you saw. But this is Undo, and it is flammable. It is a dangerous kind of thing, so be careful with this. But all you do is you get in between the 2 pieces of glued pieces, and then you drip some in, and then you use this to pry it apart. And so that's what I used. Here, I'll show that really quick so you can get a screenshot of it. And so that's what I used to pry the front and back cover off, and it kind of left some texture, so I actually thought it was really cool. And then I went ahead and painted exactly how I painted these covers is what I did here, and then on the back of this hardboard. And then I went ahead and glued those pieces onto the front cover. There's the tape that you can see wrapped around. And then I had a bunch of skins that I wasn't using that I peeled off. Well, I hadn't peeled it off yet, but I thought it matched really well. So I went ahead and peeled it off and put it on the spine. Then I just wrapped some of my rusty wire, because you know I love my rusty wire, just to give some texture to the spine. This turned out kind of more of a manly journal. It's very rustic and copper and, you know, patina, but I don't know, it turned out kind of more manly, which I love it. I thought I'd just go a little bit more simple and kind of towards the more of the manly journal. And then I didn't add a dangle on it. I thought I would just try something different, you know, instead of doing that. But I did go ahead. This was kind of, I was going to leave it plain, and I was like, oh, it needs some kind of assemblage or something on the top, which I just had to do it. But as you can see here, if you can get close up there, you can see all of the paint skins, tool, I have wire, and then this was on top of, I think it was an old, I don't know if it was a smoke tin, like with cigarettes in it, or chewing tobacco, I'm not sure, but it's that old. And then a copper, like washer kind of thingy, disc, a copper dish will go, and then an old penny. It's not too old, 1980. Hopefully it's not worth $1 million. But I didn't deface the penny. I just glued it down there. And then this was a plumbing piece. It's a brass fitting. And then thread as well. And then there's the back. I left the back. But that paint is so cool. And it's actually just, it feels like metal. You know, that paint's amazing. I use it obviously a lot. I love the copper and patina is one of my favorite looks. The teal together. And yeah, so I did paint the book board the same way on the back, and then added the liver sulfur and then the patina, and then I put this on top. So everything just kind of jives together. And here I just kept, like I said, I kept this journal really simple. This was just like a little piece of encaustic painting that I had done quite a while ago. I found it when I was looking for other little pieces for this journal, and I thought this would fit perfect in this little pocket. I just made a little pocket, and so it just sits in here. Like I said, this is kind of a simplistic journal. And then I just did a key with some tattered pieces, and you can see where the glue circles are around there, how that peeled off. It won't, like, that Undo will help you peel it off, but sometimes you'll rip a little bit of the paper. This took like a layer off of this thick cardboard, but that was totally cool. It left a cool texture. And then I just painted over it like I showed you. And then we'll go over these little pins right here. These are paper clips, and I did a tutorial showing you how to use resin in a bunch of different ways, and I think the video is called like Frame It. But I'll show you how these look when I open the book. But I thought those looked really cool. I just cut this plate 1, 2, 3, and 4 out of the top pages of a It was an encyclopedia. So the way this works, so you have this book, and if you decide to do it this way, totally cool, because it'll be like this. You'll have the open binding, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you do not, and you want the book, this kind of style, all you do is just, you'll glue your last piece down. We'll open this one. So you'll glue this piece down to your, I kept the hardboard, or the book, excuse me, you kept the book board on there, and I glued the book board to the hardboard. And I would keep that. I would leave it. It just, because this paper is kind of thin, just gives it something more to hold on to, I guess. But it's totally up to you. You do you. Then I move this over just a little bit. Let's see, I think we're still in frame. So what you're going to do and how you use this art journal, I made this is a completely blank journal because this has a lot of writing space. And I kind of thought of this journal as something that's totally for writing, you know, like a diary or your journal to journal in or draw. Probably simple doodles with your drawing. This is one of Tracy's. I use Tracy's tags. These are simple, amazing simple layered tiny tags, I believe. I did the tiny miniature paper, sorry guys. I did the miniature, what are they called? Oh well, anyways, you know what I'm going for. I don't want to redo this video. Anyway, so I covered half of that, and then I just put the resin on top of that. And then here's just something different just to hold on to, and I just put it on the top page here. Clipboard, that's the word I'm looking for. Those miniature clipboards is what I use those for. So this is the first open full page, and I did it lengthwise, but you bind them exactly how I showed you to do it. And then that's going to be the first page. Then you can open the second. You can start writing here, you can start writing here, or you know, in the side. I might put something underneath here. You could also do these pages if you wanted these to be completely like how I made the Frida. Paint them, design them first, and then fold them and wrap them or bind them up. But you could probably, no, you got to keep it this way. So I don't know. I'm not going to confuse you guys. So just do it how I showed you how to do it. So these are everything bound in. And there's, it's calling it plate number 2. And I'm not going to open it. Well, I'll open the first set, and then it just repeats itself. And there you go. There's the rest of the pages. Whoops. I'll just open it like this. So yeah, and I just used the copper paint as accents. But I just thought this looked really cool. Like I said, I did like it on its own, but I just thought it was more fun. Now, kind of, I wanted this to be a little bit of a quick project, which this totally was, but then when I started getting into this, it kind of was like, okay. So I could have made this removable, which I usually use elastic to remove my signatures, and I could have done that so we can reuse the cover, but I was trying to make this one a little bit different. So we went permanent because I could have put the elastic here. So that's an idea if you want to put the elastic here, and then you just find the center and put this in around the elastic and everything will still open. I just decided to just glue it in and make this a one art piece because there's so much you can do in here. I mean, you have so many squares to work with. So I just figured let's do something different, and that's what we did. So anyways, you could decorate this. Like I said, my idea was more journaling and doodling little pieces of artwork in the squares. But I really love how it turned out. So it's an open, you cannot glue this to this because then we can't open the pages, right? So that's kind of why we have this type of binding. It kind of just, I don't know, it feels good. It was a cute little size. Very rustic and grungy, kind of like urban. I'd say an urban kind of style. Anyways, I hope you give this a try. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment below. I will link videos, like I stated, to the kettle stitch to do that. But other than that, I hope everybody gives these a try. If you do, please tag me. I'd love to see what you come up with. Yeah, so anyways, I hope everybody's having a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.